Welcome back to Two Gals and a Glass Half Full. Today, we're going to talk about budgeting and how it can actually improve your health, like your physical health. Budgeting is one of those words that many people, when they hear, they kind of like, "Ugh." But it's a great, tangible way to improve your health, decrease your stress, and it gives you the freedom to spend. So let's dive in. And before we do, Dr. Jess, what's in your glass?
So I'm working on my smoothie this morning. So I've got some oat milk with protein powder, frozen fruit, microgreens, chia seeds, all the ground flax seeds, all sorts of goodness in one cup. So Dr. Bobbie, what's in your glass?
We have a lot of funk going around our house right now. I feel like that's something I need. But I did already have orange juice this morning, trying to like increase my vitamin C to help me. And I'm just having some coffee to get me going because kind of definitely feeling what everyone else is having.
Gotcha. Yeah, it's that time of year.
Yes.
So as Dr. Bobby said, like budgeting is one of those topics that sounds like wah wah. However, it's actually something that can be really, really great for your health. And that's why we're very interested in budgeting because there's so many positives to it. But Dr. Bobby, when we talk about budgeting and getting started with budgeting, is it that like we just kind of, just do it, right? You just do it.
So a little bit of my own journey with this. No, you don't just do it, although that's what you feel like it should be. And that's like I remember, so back in 2016, I was kind of in the red. I was so stressed. I was working 7 days a week, 12 hours a day, and I still wasn't making all my bills. And so that's when I kind of decided something had to change. During that time, I didn't feel great. I wasn't exercising. I wasn't eating healthy. I was so stressed. And that's where all that kind of plays in. And so I listened and I learned, and I started to try budgeting. The first 3 months were a wreck. I didn't even know what I was spending. I remember like the first month I did it, I was single at that time. So it was just me. And I was like, I spent over $400 eating out this month. Like, I thought like putting $100 down as a budget for that column was appropriate until I like finally started tracking what I was actually spending. So it's amazing. Those first 3 months of you trying to do it is more, you just guess. You honestly, you guess. And then you start tracking what you're spending. And you have to have a lot of grace during that time. You can't like beat yourself down, but that's where you're learning. And that's where you kind of get an idea of like where to start. Kind of like running, Dr. Jess. If we want to run a marathon, we can't just get up and run the marathon. You got to start by walking. You can't even run sometimes. So it's kind of really that's the first step that at least I took. It took me a good 3 months to have an idea of even just what I was spending to then create a budget that was more realistic.
Yeah, and I think right now it's like the cost of everything is going up. So even if you had a budget that was solid and working for you, now it's like that grocery budget doesn't look the
Oh,
same. The eating out budget doesn't look the same. It's, the cost of, childcare, your healthcare, your co-pays, your co-insurances, everything is going
mhm.
up. And so it makes it that much harder because it's not like you necessarily just get a raise to account for that. I mean, I know I don't, right? I can't just like tell the patients like, oh, hey, listen, I'm going to just charge you a good amount more because my budget went up. Because they're like, wait, my budget went up too. You can't just pass that off to me. So it's budgeting is constant, essentially. It's
Mhm.
not like you just budget for 3 months and then you're like, oh, I'm solid. I've got it figured out. Like it's just like everything in life. You have to kind of keep up with it and keep reallocating funds as necessary. And there's going to be times where things are going to be there's more that you have to have in that budget, and there's going to be times where you can kind of get rid of some stuff in the budget, and and that's just where you are in life, and it is what it is. I mean, I know right
Like,
now we're in this phase where like we've got two kids, we've got, cost for, what they do during the day, right? Like school and all that kind of stuff. And there's certain things we can't just like say, no, we're not going to spend money on that. So there's other areas where we have to say, okay, well, we're not going to spend money in this area. But like it's just math. It really is just math. And it's not even hard math. It's addition and subtraction. Like you just like, and it's painful because like when the numbers don't balance at the bottom for what's coming in and what your budget is, for your realistic budget, it's like something has to give. Otherwise, it will result in stress. And we've done multiple episodes on stress, and stress, chronic stress, is really bad for your health. Um, so, Dr. Bobbie, how
Yeah.
do you keep up with your budget? Like, what are your strategies, right? Like, everybody's got a different one.
So I personally follow, and there's a lot of different people out there that are very knowledgeable. I personally follow someone named Dave Ramsey, and what he really suggests is every month you sit down, you're going to create a budget that is realistic and it's going to work. But every month, so for example, in October, I know coming up, I have my every 6 month, I have my auto insurance. And depending on how you are and where you are, for me, I'm at the point where I don't need to save each month for that bill. But when I sit down to do my October budget, I need to make sure it's in there. And that's different than August because I didn't have that bill in August. So every month you sit down and if you're married or with a significant other, they really suggest you sit down together because if one person's doing it and one person isn't, um, you can't shovel out faster than someone shoveling in dirt if you're going, like at the same speed. So even if you're not going the same speed, even if you're going faster, they're still shoveling dirt in. You're never going to get it all out. And so working together, sitting down and kind of looking, what's this month have ahead of us that's different than normal? Whether it be auto insurance, whether it be, oh gosh, what are some other bills that birthdays, right? Like kids'
Yeah,
birthdays, Christmas.
like forgetting
Um,
to put gifts into your working budget. I mean, because like, I mean, we have birthday parties on a regular basis, and like to get a gift for a kiddo, it's gonna be $35, so, and then,
yeah.
and then all of a sudden you've got two, and now you're like, gosh, where did that extra $100 go? Do you get a birthday card? You get, a little something, and all of a sudden you're like, well, shoot, like,
Yeah.
how did we overspend by $100 here? That's interesting, um,
Yeah, and it really
yeah.
prevents, like, when you sit down and do that budget, it prevents quote unquote emergencies from popping up. It's always really good to have an emergency budget, which is for when you get a flat tire, when the car breaks down, you have that money set aside in a savings. It's still a pain. It still sucks. It still hurts to take that money out, but at least you have it there. And now it's just an annoyance and not a problem. But the one thing I like to tell people is, and Dave Ramsey says this, and it is my favorite: Christmas is not emergency. Christmas comes on December 25th every single year, or any other holiday that you celebrate. Plan for it. Like if you want to spend $100 per person, but you don't have the ability to do that all in December, plan it out over the year. Put away $20 here every month. It just makes your life so much less stressful. But it's hard in the beginning because
Yes.
everyone a lot of times feels like a budget is limiting. In reality, if you're realistic with it, a budget gives you freedom to like spend your money. If you have $200 in this category, that means you have the $200 to spend. And you're not wondering, oh, can I do this? Can I not? It gives you so much freedom if we change that mindset. And that's what we talk about a lot of times. This is just changing your mindset and the way you look at something.
Yep. And that undercurrent of anxiety that can be there all the time, or that undercurrent of guilt of, I really shouldn't be doing this good thing for myself, because I should be putting this money somewhere else or whatever it might be. All of that is like, it just is what leads to that chronic stress. And I mean, and that, as we know, is just horrible for like essentially how our organ systems function, how our nervous system functions. I mean, it will break you down, if it stays there for an extended period of time, which that's kind of how a lot of our society functions. And this is one major area that you can decrease that chronic stress. And I mean, it doesn't have you don't even have to have an expensive like tracking system. Some of them that like if you like automate it so all of your expenses come in so you can kind of see yeah, you're gonna have to pay monthly for that kind of technology. But like you can do it on Excel, like honest answer, and then like your columns, just sum your columns. As you put, your receipts come in from your grocery or whatever it is, then in your budget, for that month, put that much in. It
Mhm.
doesn't have to cost you money. Because I know that's, when I first started budgeting like for real, I just started on Excel, because I was a new grad and I had no money and I felt like I was overwhelmed all the time and everything was so expensive and I didn't get paid all that much. And I like, it was just me, So, I mean, it was tight. It was very, very tight. There was no like going on vacation or anything super fun until I really got my foundation under me. And I could
Mhm.
really understand what can I afford versus what can't I afford. And then I started learning, well, I can go camping and I can go and stay at a friend's house that lives in a different city. And, until I could really start again building up my emergency savings and whatnot. But it took me a while to actually get my feet underneath me. I mean, this isn't something that takes months, this is the long play, for sure.
So, Dr. Jess, let's look at like a few of the categories that maybe how do we, so we know budgeting is important. Let's first. We know budgeting is important. We know it can decrease our stress. I believe it's one of the like number one reasons people get divorced. It
100%.
causes so much stress. And the freedom that I felt once I was finally out of debt and I knew where my money was going, I had an emergency fund. I'm not saying I was rich and I'm not saying I was going on fancy vacations. I wasn't going on any vacation,
Mhm.
but I knew my bills were paid each month. The amount of freedom of never having to worry about money again. And I don't want to say again, but during that time, when I got a bill, I knew I could pay it. The money was there, again, not vacation. Um, Bills could pay. I was happy. I could eat. I could do some fun things, as Dr. Jess was saying, going camping and things like that, but nothing extravagant. So we know that can really decrease your stress. How can it also benefit? So when we look at health and decreasing your stress is a huge point of health. What other areas can we notice improvements in our health when we really get down to budgeting and when we really kind of keep track of what we're spending and what we're doing with it?
Yeah. And that's where it comes down to what are ways that we can lead healthier lives, right? So, food is a really, really big topic with health, and food is expensive. Good food is expensive. It's much cheaper to go and get a lean cuisine and pop it in the microwave and heat it up. It really is. It's much, much cheaper. It's cheaper to buy a bag of chips and, kind of go about your day. But you aren't fueling your body with things that are actually going to keep your organs and your metabolism healthy. So, and that's a big part of the risk of, type 2 diabetes and, heart disease and all of these other things that are chronic illnesses is because the food that is cheap and readily available is killing us. And so
Mhm.
part of the budget, I mean, my grocery budget is healthy. It is a healthy grocery budget. Um, and we eat a whole foods diet. Like that's very important to me. Like I mean, the amount of money, I mean, it saves me money to make my own smoothie, but this is expensive, right? Like all of those ingredients are really good ingredients. And I make four a day because there's four in our family. So like just that alone. Um, and it's worth it because everybody's starting their day with a super solid start of we've got a good mix of like healthy fats, healthy proteins, microgreens, all of the megos that happen with all the seeds that we put in there. I mean, you're talking about like a good jump start to the day. So that to me is a value system. And I budget that into our grocery budget. So I could decrease our grocery budget by a couple $100s a month, but then we wouldn't be fueling our brains with healthy omegas, our bones with good calcium, our muscles with the protein that we need. And so it's all of that combined is health, honestly. Um, so that's, I mean, really setting aside budget for quality food is key. So Dr. Bobbie, what are other ways that when we kind of move our budget around, what are other ways that we can have our budget work for us for our health?
So one of the big areas I like to talk about, and again, this is once everything's paid. This is when you have a little bit of extra room in your spending and you've paid your bills, you have your money put aside for savings. you're in a good place. The other one I think is really important is self-care. And whether that is going to a gym, a yoga membership, a massage, a facial, whatever it is you do for yourself, your time, and maybe it's shopping. Some people enjoy shopping as like their me time and relaxing. And there's nothing wrong with that as long as you budget for it and you stay within that budget. Um, because when I think one thing that I always remind myself is they always say, so spending and your habits are 80% your habits, right? A lot of times, 80% of the problem with finances is not math, it's your habits. It's only 20% with your math. And so if you can watch your habits and change your habits, that will help you kind of follow that budget. And then it will give you the freedom to go spend money on shopping, to go get that extra massage, to plan for that vacation that you've always wanted to do. Those are all really important things to our health. Being on a budget isn't just surviving, it's thriving. It's trying to do all the things you want to do, whether it's go to that festival. And again, when you're starting out, it doesn't have to be extravagant things. We went to a fair on Sunday. It was $10 to get in, and a whole day of fun. And got to see animals and all that stuff. So, but again, that needs to be in your budget and that needs to be planned for. Um, and it makes your life so much less stressful. I can't tell you the freedom of like seeing the money come in and knowing where it goes. Every dollar has a place. And knowing that this money I set aside, I'm allowed to spend. I can go out to dinner with it. I can meet a friend for a drink. I can do those fun things I want to do. I can buy that dress because I planned for that money. I'm not stealing from another category that's now going to suffer.
Right. Exactly. Yeah. And then there's even other ways that budgeting can help, right? So
Mhm.
let's say, in the budget, it's, you want to get started with exercising more consistently. And
Mhm.
there's barriers there. So a barrier could be the expense of the gym membership. A barrier could be you don't have equipment at home. A barrier could be
Mhm.
you don't have updated shoes and they're expensive. A barrier could be you don't have updated clothes. The clothes you have, don't fit or they're not comfortable, they're out of style or whatever. All of these are going to be barriers to you not getting out there and doing, regular participation in exercise, which we know exercise improves every aspect of our health and decreases our risk of any chronic illness. So we know that this is a highly valuable activity. And there's a ton of barriers to participating in this activity consistently. And this activity might look different for everybody. It could be running, it could be biking, it could be swimming, it could be yoga, it could be martial arts, it could be strength training, it could be any of it, is good for you. So, but I'm telling you, like, if I have clothes that are uncomfortable and don't fit well and my shoes like are uncomfortable, I'm less likely to go out for a run. Honest answer.
Mhm.
Like I have my shorts that I really like. I've got my sports bra that I really like. I've got, the shirts that don't get heavy in the sweat. I've got, my socks that I really like. And every aspect of that participation in that activity is just more enjoyable. I don't have some chafing, something riding up uncomfortably. My feet aren't hurting. Um, but everything that I've bought, even my vest that I run in, I love that vest. I've gone through like a bunch of different things just for carrying water, but it's expensive. Dang, when I saw the price of that vest, I was like, no way. Like, so I mean, I saved for like probably 6 months before I actually like bought that vest because I was like, okay, well, shoes first because that's important. I can carry water in my hand, even though I don't love that because I don't love spending the energy holding something. And then it's like, just again, just like a little bit at a time. Then I would get maybe a different pair of shorts that I like better. And then I would get this that I like better. And like each month I might do one thing. And that way it's like that category I'm not overspending in. And it's like, I can survive without this fancy vest. But then once I got it, I was like, I mean, I've had it now for probably 8 years and I wear it on every single run and I love it still. And I was like, this is the best purchase.
I love that you brought that up about because a lot of times we feel like when we're starting something, we just need to get everything, right? if you want to go biking, I need to get everything. I need to get the shoes. I need to get this. I need to get that. I need, and you don't. And you could start with one thing. And what I like to do is if you start with one thing, then you look at the next month and you're like, okay, it's A, motivation, B, it's better for your finances. So you have less stress. Is I look, okay, if I go out running once a week, that's my goal this month, once a week to go running. If I do that, then maybe I can get that new pair of shorts for the next month.
Right.
And it's kind of like that motivation and like showing yourself, because how many of us have bought all the equipment and then never once went?
Right.
How many of you own gym memberships that you haven't canceled, but you haven't been to in a few months? Like,
Right.
oh yeah, we're going to go back. Oh yeah, I'm going to go back. But you aren't, like,
Right.
so it kind of also will help build those habits. It's good to have goals and then have rewards. And it's okay to reward
The
yourself.
reward. Yep.
Yeah, it's okay to reward yourself with that too, because it's in your budget
Yeah.
and use
And
it.
starting off, it doesn't have to be the highest quality everything. It really
Mm-hmm.
doesn't. I mean, first see if you even like the activity, right? So like when I moved to Gainesville, a friend of mine was like really into mountain biking and I had only done road biking. And I mean it was like trail riding. I mean it's not mountains,
Yeah.
but like trail riding. And so I was like, well, I don't have a bike. And she was like, well, you can borrow my daughter's. And I was like, great. This was like a little like just to ride your bike to school bike. Okay. She's on this like legit shocks, like big old knobby tires. Like she's just like crushing this trail. And I'm like, on this little bike. But I was like not committed to buying a bike until I knew that I would like the activity, right?
Mm-hmm.
I ended up loving it, and then I just went and I bought a used bike. So for like 150 bucks, I was able to get a bike that had shocks, it had better tires, it had enough gears. And I rode that bike for probably a couple of years and then ended up kind of getting a little bit of a better bike. Again,
Mm-hmm.
used. So I sold that one and got a used one upgrade up. Because like I'm not a professional cyclist. I'm not going to be. I don't need $1,000 bike. I'm not racing trails. I just do it for fun on the weekends. So like, see what I mean? It's like for a hundred bucks to like, I mean that's a gym membership, one bike, and I can go every Saturday. So I don't have a gym membership. It's for me. It's not best for me personally. I like being outside. So I kind of justify that. I'm like, if I were to have a gym membership, how much would it cost per month? And that's what I kind of allow myself to spend on, whether I'm upgrading something or maybe I use that money to sign up for a race, or I use that. So that monthly budget, I just kind of use to keep myself, just motivated and trying different things and whatnot, as if I had a gym membership. So that's kind of my line item, for that. So, I mean, really, it's budgeting, like you said, it is freeing actually.
Mm-hmm.
And it allows you to realize like, what is my value system? At the end of the day, what's my value system? And my money needs to match that instead of my money matching a habit. So,
Mm-hmm.
and
You got to give it
self-evaluate.
3 months. If you're not doing it, even if you are
Oh,
doing it, I challenge you, track the next 3 months, see where you are with things. If you have not looked at it recently or changed it recently, track the
take a
next
look.
3 months.
Yeah. Yeah. It's changed. I promise. Like,
Right.
there's times where I'm like, oh my gosh, like what did we do? And it's just groceries, not
Mhm.
even eating out. I mean, the cost of
I
things are
would say
just
you guys
just
don't eat
up.
out at barely at all.
No, we don't. Because it's like I can't justify the cost, you know. I mean, I have some budget in every month for eating out. It's not like we never eat out, but like
Right. Right.
not I mean
It's
not
not a
even
weekly
weekly.
occurrence.
Not
Yeah.
weekly. No. Um so anyway, big ticket item here, budget, start with 3 months. From there, find your line items where you can really start investing in your health, whether that's self-care, exercise, budgeting for meals, groceries versus eating out, all of that. And between the health benefit of decreasing stress, plus the health benefit of healthier eating, plus the health benefit of regular participation in exercise, plus the health benefit of self-care, like budgeting for real can big time help you. And we have a part 2 to this series with budgeting that we will be releasing next week. So definitely stay tuned. And if this is information that you found helpful, share it with somebody that you know if you think they might be, benefit from it. And we're on all social media platforms. So subscribe, follow, give us a like, a comment, all that stuff helps the algorithm. And that's the whole thing, right? So like pay it forward a little bit. We try and put out some good info. So like give us a little like, and that would be super appreciated. All right, everybody. So we will see you next week.